Chosen one. You've been carrying a quiet weight for a long time. The loneliness no one notices. The feeling of being overlooked, misunderstood, and underestimated. You've grown tired of explaining who you are, why you think differently, why your path doesn't look like everyone else's. And some nights, chosen one, you've wondered in silence if your waiting has meant anything at all. Chosen one, is it true that you've asked yourself, did I miss my moment? Did God forget me? Why does it feel like I'm always prepared but never released? Hear this with your spirit wide open. You do not need more motivation, you need confirmation, and heaven sent you here to receive it. Anointed one, you are not watching this by accident. This moment was arranged by divine timing. Scripture reminds us that the vision awaits an appointed time, but it will surely come, and it will not delay. You are standing at the edge of that appointed time. The waiting season is ending, and a supernatural shift is beginning. Sudden elevation, divine provision, and heaven-sent transformation are aligning for you now. Chosen one, stay with this message until the end, because what follows is not information, it is activation. If your spirit feels this is for you, subscribe to this channel to stay connected to what heaven is releasing, and comment 777 along with the city you're watching from. Let that be your declaration, your agreement, and your promise to yourself to receive every word God is about to pour into your soul. Chosen one, before anything else, I need you to hear this slowly and clearly. What you have been calling delay was never heaven withholding from you. It was heaven holding you. There is a difference. And only those who were marked for something weighty ever experience this kind of waiting. I know what it feels like, chosen one, to watch other people move forward while your life feels paused. I know what it feels like to be prepared, willing, capable, yet unseen. To carry vision without permission. To feel the fire inside you but still be told in subtle ways, not yet. That season can mess with your mind if you don't understand what's really happening. You start asking questions you never thought you'd ask. Did I misunderstand God? Did I wait too long? Did I do something wrong? Anointed one. Those questions are not signs of unbelief. They are signs of pressure. Pressure only comes when something valuable is being formed. There is a truth most people never learn. God does not release the chosen one the moment they are ready to move. He releases them the moment the environment is ready to receive them. And often the environment is the last thing to catch up. That's why the waiting feels lonely. That's why it feels misunderstood. That's why you've had to learn how to stand without applause. I've lived that season. There were moments in my life when I did everything right and still nothing moved. I prayed, I prepared, I stayed faithful, and yet doors stayed closed. People overlooked me, opportunities passed me by. At one point I stopped asking God to move things for me and started asking Him what He was doing in me. And that's when everything shifted. Chosen one, God was not building your resume. He was building your capacity, because what is coming to you cannot be sustained by talent alone. It requires maturity. It requires discernment. It requires a nervous system that won't panic when elevation comes suddenly. That kind of strength is only forged in waiting. This is why your waiting season felt so intense. You weren't just waiting for a blessing. You were being insulated from premature exposure. Scripture tells us the vision waits for an appointed time, and when it comes, it will not delay. That verse is not about patience, it's about protection. The vision does not show up late, it shows up whole, and you could not step into it until you were whole enough to carry it. Chosen one, hear this: if God had released you earlier, it would have crushed you. Not because you were weak, but because you were still healing, still unlearning, still shedding identities that were never meant to follow you into your next season. Heaven will never bless you in a way that breaks you. That's why the silence lasted longer than you expected. That's why certain prayers seemed unanswered. God was not ignoring you, He was aligning you. And alignment takes time because it involves removing things you were emotionally attached to. People, patterns, expectations, even versions of yourself that once kept you safe. I want to speak directly to the part of you that felt rejected during this season. That feeling was real. The pain was real. Being overlooked hurts. Being misunderstood cuts deep. But rejection was not sent to destroy you. It was sent to detach you. You could not carry everyone with you into where God is taking you. And God loved you too much to let familiar hands mishandle your future. Anointed one, this is why you became comfortable alone. Not because you wanted isolation, but because your spirit outgrew noise. This is why you stopped explaining yourself. Not because you became cold, but because you became clear. This is why validation stopped satisfying you. Not because you don't care, but because heaven had already confirmed you. You see, waiting rewires you. It trains you to listen inward instead of outward. It teaches you how to stand without clapping. It teaches you how to obey without seeing results immediately. And that obedience is what qualifies you for sudden acceleration. Chosen one acceleration is coming, but it does not look like chaos, it looks like precision. Things will begin to move quickly, but they will move cleanly. Doors will open without forcing. People will recognize you without convincing. Resources will align without you begging. And when it happens, it will feel almost surreal because you spent so long being still. I need you to understand something deeply spiritual. Heaven does not waste seasons. Nothing you endured was filler. The confusion, the delays, the emotional pruning, the quiet exits of people you thought would stay. All of it was preparation for what you are about to step into. This is why you survived things that should have hardened you. This is why you still believe even after disappointment. This is why your heart stayed soft when bitterness would have been easier. Chosen one. Your waiting season is officially ending because your alignment is complete. Not perfect, complete. You don't need to be flawless to be released. You need to be grounded, and you are. Chosen one. One of the clearest signs that your waiting season is ending is this: your old life no longer fits you. And I don't mean it feels uncomfortable in a dramatic way. I mean it feels wrong in a quiet, unsettling way that you can't ignore anymore. The routines that once kept you stable now feel heavy. The environments that once felt familiar now feel draining. Conversations you used to tolerate now exhaust you, and you may have tried to push through it, telling yourself to be grateful, to be patient, to not make waves. But deep down, something in you keeps whispering, I can't stay here. Chosen one, that whisper is not rebellion. It is revelation. I remember a season when I tried to force myself to remain in spaces God had already outgrown me out of. I stayed because it was safe. I stayed because it was known. I stayed because I didn't want to disappoint anyone or look ungrateful for what I had. But every day my spirit felt heavier. Not because the place was evil, but because it was expired. And expired environments don't collapse loudly, they suffocate quietly. They slowly drain your joy, dull your vision, and convince you that you're the problem for no longer fitting in. Anointed one, you are not difficult. You are not unstable. You are not ungrateful. You are transitioning. When God prepares to elevate the chosen one, He first breaks their attachment to the familiar, because familiarity is the most dangerous form of bondage. It feels like comfort, but it keeps you loyal to what can no longer carry your future. This is why your spirit started resisting what your mind once accepted. This is why you feel restless even when nothing is technically wrong. Heaven is loosening your grip on a timeline that has already served its purpose. Scripture shows us again and again that before God moves someone forward, he makes the current place uncomfortable. Abraham had to feel the tension of staying before he could leave. Joseph had to feel the weight of the pit before the palace. Even Jesus withdrew from familiar regions when the season shifted. Not because the people were unworthy, but because the assignment had moved. Chosen one. The discomfort you feel is not confusion, it is confirmation. You may notice that you don't argue the way you used to. You don't fight to be understood anymore. You don't try to prove your value in rooms that overlook you. That's because your spirit already knows what your mind is still catching up to you no longer belong where you are. And that realization can feel frightening when you don't yet see what's next. This is where many people panic and sabotage their own transition. They rush to fill the gap. They jump into new relationships too fast. They accept opportunities that don't align just to avoid the discomfort of the in-between. But the chosen one must learn to endure the gap without contaminating it. The space between timelines is sacred. It's where clarity forms. I want to speak to the fear that rises when your old life falls apart before the new one appears. That fear whispers, what if I leave and nothing replaces this? What if I let go and fall behind? What if this is a mistake? Anointed one. Those thoughts are not intuition. They are echoes of survival thinking. Survival wants certainty. Calling requires trust. God never removes something from your life without already arranging what replaces it. But he doesn't always reveal the replacement immediately because he wants to know if you will obey without reassurance. Faith is not stepping when you see the ground. Faith is stepping because you heard his voice. There was a time when I walked away from something that looked good on the outside but felt heavy in my spirit. People questioned me. Some thought I was foolish. Others assumed I was afraid of success. But I knew something they couldn't see. Peace had left. And whenever peace leaves, God has already gone ahead of you. I didn't know what was next. I only knew I couldn't stay. And within months, doors opened that would never have opened if I had remained loyal to what God had already released me from. Chosen one, loyalty to expired seasons delays destiny. Another sign your waiting season is ending is that your tolerance for misalignment has disappeared. You used to tolerate subtle disrespect. You used to minimize your intuition. You used to stay quiet to keep the peace. But now something in you refuses. Not loudly, not aggressively, just firmly. You feel a quiet authority rising, the kind that doesn't need permission. That authority is not pride, it is alignment. When heaven begins to move you, your spirit starts rejecting anything that would contaminate your next season. You don't have the emotional energy to entertain what you once excused. You don't have the patience for conversations that pull you backward. And you don't feel guilty about it anymore. That's because God is narrowing your focus. Wide gates allow distraction. Narrow paths require discernment. Anointed one. The narrowing you feel is not loss. It is precision. You may also notice that you are no longer impressed by things that once motivated you. Titles don't excite you the same way. Applause doesn't move you. Quick wins don't satisfy you. This is not because you lack ambition. It's because your ambition has matured. You're no longer chasing outcomes, you're protecting alignment. This is a dangerous stage for the enemy because once the chosen one stops chasing validation, they become uncontrollable. They can no longer be manipulated by approval or delayed by rejection. They move when God says move, and they wait when God says wait. And that kind of obedience attracts supernatural backing. I need you to hear this clearly. The reason your old life feels tight is because your next season requires expansion. You cannot step into what God is releasing while carrying outdated identities, relationships, or roles. Heaven is lightening your load on purpose. Do not mourn what no longer fits. Do not romanticize what God has already outgrown you from. Gratitude for the past does not require loyalty to it. Honor the season, but do not live there. Chosen one, your discomfort is prophetic. It is announcing that you are standing at the edge of a shift, and while it may feel like everything familiar is loosening at once, this is not collapse. It is alignment making room. What is coming will require space, and heaven is clearing it now. Chosen one, another unmistakable sign that heaven is intervening in your life is the way time itself has begun to feel different to you. Not faster, not slower, different. You no longer experience life as a straight line you are chasing down. Moments don't rush past you the same way, and the past does not grip you like it used to. You can remember it, but it no longer owns you, and the future does not haunt you the way it once did either. You still plan, you still hope, but the anxiety has loosened its grip. That shift did not come from discipline, it came from alignment. There was a time when my mind lived everywhere except where my feet were. I replayed old conversations. I second-guessed decisions. I feared missing the right moment. I thought if I could just anticipate the future well enough, I could protect myself from disappointment. But all that did was drain me. And one day, without trying, something changed. I stopped living in regret and anticipation and started living in awareness. Not because I became spiritual overnight, but because God had finished teaching me what the past could teach me. Chosen one, when God is preparing to move you, He loosens your emotional attachment to time, because the chosen one cannot step into divine acceleration while still chained to yesterday or obsessed with tomorrow. Scripture speaks of a time appointed by heaven, a moment that arrives not early and not late, but exactly when alignment is complete. You are entering that dimension now. This is what it feels like when Chronos, human time, begins to bow to Kairos, God's timing. You may notice that things that once felt urgent no longer demand your energy. You don't rush the same way. You don't scramble the same way. You don't feel behind the same way. And that can feel unsettling at first, especially if your identity was built around productivity or proving yourself. But peace is not laziness. Peace is a signal that heaven has taken over what you were trying to control. Anointed one, this is not you giving up. This is you handing off. As your relationship with time shifts, so does your relationship with people. And this is where the pruning becomes unmistakable. You may have noticed that certain relationships are quietly fading without drama, without conflict, without a final argument. Conversations slow down, invitations stop, emotional closeness dissolves, and you might have tried to revive it out of habit or loyalty, only to realize your heart is no longer in it. That can feel painful, even when you know it's necessary. I want to speak honestly here because this part of the transition is where many chosen ones struggle the most. We were taught that if something ends, someone failed. If a connection breaks, someone is to blame. But heaven does not operate on human guilt. Heaven operates on alignment. And when alignment shifts, connections must either rise with you or release you. I've lost relationships I prayed would last forever. Not because there was betrayal or hatred, but because the season expired. And for a long time I blamed myself. I wondered if I had become cold or distant. But the truth was simpler and harder to accept. My frequency had changed. And not everyone can breathe at higher altitude. Chosen one. The people who were assigned to your survival season cannot always accompany you into your elevation season. Some were there to help you endure. Others were there to teach you. Others were there to reveal parts of yourself you needed to heal. but that does not mean they were meant to stay. This is where the enemy tries to trap you in false responsibility. He whispers that you are abandoning people, that you are selfish, that you are ungrateful. But obedience will always look selfish to those who benefit from your staying small. God does not ask the chosen one to betray people. He asks them to obey him. And sometimes obedience requires distance. You may feel a strange mixture of relief and grief. Relief because you no longer have to pretend. Grief because you genuinely cared. That tension is holy. Do not rush to numb it. Do not force closure. Let God untangle what he is separating. Every relationship that leaves now is making room for connections that can recognize the version of you that is emerging. Anointed one. This pruning is protection. Another shift you may be experiencing is your growing hunger for silence. Not isolation driven by pain, but stillness driven by clarity. Noise drains you now. Too much stimulation overwhelms you. Conversations without depth exhaust you. You crave moments where nothing is demanded of you, where you can sit, breathe, and feel your own presence again. This is not withdrawal, this is attunement. When God is preparing to speak clearly, he turns down the volume of the world around you. Silence is not empty. Silence is where instruction forms. This is why so many chosen ones are drawn to solitude before elevation. Not because they are antisocial, but because their spirit is being recalibrated. I learned more about myself in seasons of quiet than I ever did in seasons of applause. Silence revealed motives I didn't know I had, fears I hadn't named, strength I didn't know was growing, and most importantly, silence taught me how to hear God without interruption. Chosen one. If you are craving quiet, honor it. The next instructions for your life will not come through noise. They will come through discernment. You may also notice that your need for validation is fading. You still care, but you are no longer dependent. Compliments don't inflate you. Criticism doesn't destroy you. You are becoming internally anchored. And that internal anchoring is one of the strongest indicators that your waiting season is ending. Because the chosen one cannot be elevated while emotionally outsourced. There was a time when approval felt like oxygen to me. If people were pleased, I felt safe. If they withdrew, I panicked. But waiting seasons have a way of curing that addiction. When you stand alone long enough, you either collapse or you discover who you really are. And you, chosen one, discovered yourself. Now your worth feels quieter, deeper, less fragile. You no longer need everyone to agree with you in order to move forward. And that is dangerous in the best possible way. Because once validation loses its power over you, manipulation loses its leverage. This is what maturity looks like in the spirit. Chosen one. All of these shifts are not random personality changes. They are coordinated realignments. Time relationships, silence identity. Heaven is adjusting every layer of your life to match what is coming. And what is coming cannot be carried by the version of you that needed constant reassurance. You are becoming steady, grounded, clear, and that clarity is the doorway. Do not be afraid of what is falling away. Do not rush to replace it. Let the clearing happen. Heaven is not stripping you, heaven is positioning you. And when the release comes, it will come clean. Chosen one. There comes a point in the waiting season when something subtle but irreversible happens inside you. You stop asking for permission to become who you already are. Not out of rebellion, not out of pride, but because your spirit has matured past the need for external approval. And this shift, more than anything else, signals that your waiting season is truly ending. I want you to think back for a moment. There was a time when you needed reassurance to move forward. You needed people to understand you before you felt safe taking a step. You needed agreement before you trusted your own discernment. And there is no shame in that. That was survival. That was growth. That was you learning how to listen. But chosen one survival is not where you stay. Survival is where you are trained. Now something is different. You still listen, but you no longer bend. You still care, but you no longer shrink. You still respect others, but you no longer abandon yourself to keep the peace. And you may have noticed that this has cost you something, not loudly, quietly. Some people don't know how to relate to you anymore. Some dynamics feel awkward. Some conversations end sooner than they used to. And that's because you are no longer asking for permission to exist in your full weight. That weight you feel settling in your chest is not heaviness, it is authority. I remember the moment this shifted for me. It wasn't dramatic. There was no announcement. I simply realized that I was tired of betraying my own knowing, tired of explaining myself to people who were never going to understand anyway, tired of asking questions I already knew the answer to, just to feel validated. And the moment I stopped doing that, something unlocked. Not externally at first, but internally. I felt steady, grounded, unshakable, chosen one. That steadiness is the evidence of alignment. When heaven prepares to elevate you, it strengthens your inner witness. You begin to recognize truth without needing confirmation. You feel peace when something is right and restraint when something is wrong. And you trust that discernment even when it costs you convenience. That is not arrogance. That is spiritual maturity. This is why your decisions feel slower now but firmer. You don't rush into things anymore. You don't react impulsively. You pause, you sense, you wait. And when you move clean. That kind of movement confuses people who are still driven by urgency, but heaven does not rush what it has already secured. Anointed one urgency is for those who are afraid of missing out. You are no longer afraid of missing out because you know what is for you cannot pass you by. Another sign your waiting season is ending is the way heaven has begun leaving trails for you. Not billboards, not fireworks, subtle confirmations, repeating patterns, timely conversations, unplanned encounters. You might notice numbers, symbols, or moments of clarity that arrive exactly when you need them. Not because you're looking for signs, but because your awareness has sharpened. This is not superstition. This is sensitivity. When your spirit becomes aligned, you begin to notice how heaven communicates. God does not shout at those who are listening. He whispers, he nudges, he aligns. And suddenly things start falling into place in ways you could not have engineered. You think of someone and they reach out. You consider a direction and a door opens. You hesitate and a redirection appears. I've learned to respect these moments deeply. Some of the most important decisions of my life were guided not by logic, but by quiet restraint. A pause that saved me, a delay that protected me, a closed door that redirected me. At the time it felt frustrating. In hindsight, it was mercy. Chosen one. The reason these signs are increasing is because heaven is actively rerouting your steps. You are no longer wandering, you are being guided, and guidance increases right before acceleration. You may also notice that what you think, speak, and focus on is beginning to show up faster in your life. Not perfectly, not magically, but noticeably. Your inner state is reflecting outward with less delay. Peace attracts peace. Clarity attracts clarity. Chaos attracts chaos. And this awareness may feel sobering because you realize how powerful your inner world truly is. This is why the waiting season was so necessary. God had to purify your inner dialogue before accelerating your outer results. Because manifestation without maturity becomes destruction, and heaven will never empower what it hasn't healed. I've watched people step into abundance without inner stability, and it crushed them. Increased access magnified unhealed wounds, influence exposed insecurity, resources intensified fear. But you, chosen one, were kept, hidden, prepared, so that when movement comes, it builds you instead of breaking you. This is also why your thoughts feel heavier now. Not burdensome, but consequential. You don't entertain negativity the same way. You don't speak carelessly. You don't fantasize about outcomes that would pull you out of alignment. You are learning how to steward your inner world. And that stewardship is what qualifies you for what is coming. Another shift you may be experiencing is the way life no longer feels like it is happening to you. Even challenges feel different. You still feel them, but you don't collapse under them. There is a quiet confidence forming that says, "This is working for me, even if I don't see how yet." That confidence is not denial. It is trust born from experience. You have seen God carry you through too much to believe He would drop you now. Chosen one. This is the moment where many people expect fireworks. But heaven often works in stillness right before release. The ground settles, the noise fades, the distractions fall away. And in that calm, something irreversible locks into place. Alignment. You are aligned in your thinking, aligned in your boundaries, aligned in your timing, aligned in your identity. And alignment is more powerful than effort. Aligned people do not chase, they attract. They do not force, they position. They do not beg, they receive. This is why I can say this with authority: your waiting season is ending, not because circumstances suddenly improved, but because you did. You are no longer the same person who entered that season, and heaven does not keep mature vessels waiting unnecessarily. What is coming will not arrive loudly, it will arrive deliberately. And when it does, you will recognize it immediately, not because it excites your ego, but because it brings peace to your spirit. Chosen one, stay anchored, stay discerning, stay present. The movement you've been sensing is real. Heaven is not preparing you anymore. Heaven is positioning you. Chosen one. There is a moment in every divine transition where the atmosphere around your life begins to respond before your circumstances do. You may not see the breakthrough yet, but you can feel the pressure changing. Conversations sound different. Opportunities approach you differently. Even resistance feels different. It no longer intimidates you, it confirms that movement has begun. This is the stage where heaven shifts from preparation to positioning. I want to speak carefully here because many people misunderstand what this phase looks like. They expect instant reward, immediate clarity, loud confirmation. But God rarely announces elevation the way humans expect it. He signals it through alignment, through precision, through an unmistakable sense that things are no longer random. Chosen one. If you've noticed that your life feels unusually intentional lately, that moments seem placed not accidental, that is not coincidence. Heaven is tightening the margin around your steps. When God is about to move you into visible elevation, He reduces error, He sharpens discernment, He increases consequence. You may have felt this as a sobering awareness. You can no longer play around the way you used to. Certain behaviors no longer feel neutral. Certain thoughts no longer feel harmless. You sense that your choices carry weight now. That awareness is not fear. It is stewardship awakening. I remember a season when I felt this shift clearly. Everything in my life slowed down, not because nothing was happening, but because everything mattered more. I couldn't afford emotional leaks anymore. I couldn't afford to say yes out of guilt. I couldn't afford to ignore my intuition. At first, that responsibility felt heavy, but then I realized something: God was trusting me. Chosen one trust always precedes transfer. This is especially true when it comes to divine provision and supernatural increase. Heaven does not release abundance into chaos. It releases it into alignment. And alignment is not perfection, it is obedience, it is clarity, it is restraint. You may have noticed that your desires have changed. You no longer crave excess. You crave stability. You crave purpose. You crave peace. And that shift is critical because the enemy can only trap you with what you still want for the wrong reasons. When your desires purify, his leverage weakens. Anointed one. This is why some opportunities that look good on the surface no longer move you. You can sense when something would compromise your peace. You can feel when something is rushed. You can detect when something is shiny but misaligned. That discernment is not hesitation, it is protection. Scripture teaches us that God orders the steps of the righteous, not the speed. And when steps are ordered, shortcuts lose their appeal. You are no longer impressed by acceleration that bypasses integrity. You would rather wait than arrive broken. This is the kind of maturity that qualifies you for sustained elevation. Another sign that heaven is intervening is the way resistance has shifted in your life. It hasn't disappeared, it has changed form. Instead of constant opposition, you may now experience subtle tests. Temptations disguised as favors, pressure masked as opportunity, invitations that seem harmless but feel off. This is not punishment. This is discernment training at a higher level. When the enemy realizes he cannot stop your progress, he attempts to contaminate it. He introduces options that would dilute your calling. He offers convenience where discipline is required. He tempts you to trade peace for momentum. But the fact that you can sense these traps before stepping into them is proof that your awareness has increased. I've walked away from things that would have made my life easier in the short term, but cost me alignment in the long term. At the time, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like restraint. But looking back, every decision to honor discernment preserved something precious in me. And that preservation is what allowed future blessings to land clean. Chosen one heaven is not only elevating you, it is insulating you. This is why some doors are closing even now. Not because you failed, but because the margin for error is narrowing. What you are about to carry cannot be handled in mixed environments. Your next season requires clarity, not chaos. Focus, not fragmentation. You may feel this as a tightening, a sense that life is asking more of you. That is because it is. But it is not asking more effort. It is asking more alignment. There is also a deep internal shift happening that many chosen ones struggle to name. You are no longer fueled by desperation. You are fueled by expectancy, not the frantic kind that demands immediate proof, but the steady kind that trusts timing. You are learning how to wait without anxiety, and that is a sign of spiritual authority, because only those who trust the outcome can wait calmly for it. I want to address the fear that sometimes surfaces here, the fear of visibility. The fear that once God moves you forward, everything will change, that you will be seen, judged, observed. That fear is normal, especially for those who were formed in hidden places. But hear this clearly: God does not expose what he has not secured. When he elevates you, he covers you. Visibility is not vulnerability when it is heaven-backed, and the version of you that is emerging is no longer fragile. You are not stepping forward as the person who needed approval. You are stepping forward as the person who learned obedience in silence. This is why the waiting season was so long. God was not just building what you would do, he was building who you would be when people are watching. Chosen one. If wealth is part of your calling, and for many of you it is, understand this. Divine wealth is not simply financial increase. It is capacity increase. It is the ability to hold more without losing yourself, to steward more without becoming arrogant, to influence more without compromising truth. That kind of wealth requires internal governance. You have been learning how to govern your thoughts, your reactions, your emotions, your boundaries, and now heaven is preparing to govern your resources. The transfer does not come because you want it. It comes because you can handle it. You may not feel ready in the way you imagined. You may still feel human, still uncertain, still learning. But readiness in the spirit does not feel like confidence. It feels like humility paired with obedience. And you have that. Chosen one. The reason things feel so precise right now is because heaven is finalizing alignment. Loose ends are being tied. Old patterns are being closed. Emotional attachments are being resolved. You are being positioned to step into what is next without dragging what is behind. This is not the moment to rush. It is the moment to remain present, to listen carefully, to move deliberately, to honor the subtle guidance you are receiving, because what is coming will not require you to fight for it. It will require you to receive it without resistance. And that is a different kind of strength. Heaven is not testing you anymore. Heaven is trusting you. Chosen one. This is the moment where everything you have sensed quietly becomes unmistakable. Not because the world suddenly changes overnight, but because you no longer question what God has been doing. The confusion that once followed you has lifted. The internal debate has settled. You are no longer asking, "Is this real?" You are recognizing this has already begun. There is a sacred calm that settles over a person right before release. Not excitement, not adrenaline, calm. And if you're honest, you've felt it. A strange steadiness, a grounded certainty that doesn't need to announce itself. That calm is not passivity. It is authority coming to rest. I want you to understand something deeply spiritual here, chosen one. God does not end waiting seasons with noise. He ends them with clarity. The end of waiting does not feel like fireworks. It feels like alignment locking into place. You suddenly know what to say yes to. You suddenly know what to walk away from. You suddenly trust your discernment without rehearsing it in your head. That is how you know the season has shifted. I remember the exact moment this happened for me. Nothing external changed that day. No call came in. No door opened yet. But internally, the striving stopped. I was no longer trying to figure out what God was doing. I simply knew He was doing it, and that knowing carried more peace than any confirmation ever had. That was the moment I stopped living as someone in preparation and started living as someone in position. Chosen one, that is where you are now. The reason the waiting season is officially over is not because everything is visible yet, but because nothing inside you is resisting anymore. You are no longer arguing with the process. You are no longer negotiating with God. You are no longer trying to rush Him or test Him. You are available, and availability is the final qualification. Heaven does not release into resistance. It releases into surrender. This is why your prayers have changed. You're no longer begging, you're listening. You're no longer asking God to prove Himself. You're asking Him to guide your steps. There is a difference between prayer born from fear and prayer born from trust. Trust does not demand timelines, it honors timing. And timing, chosen one, is converging. You may have noticed that things you once feared losing no longer scare you. You are no longer gripping outcomes. You are no longer anxious about being misunderstood. That release is not apathy, it is freedom. And freedom is dangerous in the best way because it removes the enemy's leverage. The enemy cannot manipulate someone who is not afraid to lose what God has already outgrown. This is why peace has become your compass. If it costs peace, you hesitate. If it honors peace, you proceed. That is not weakness. That is discernment refined. The more responsibility God places on a person, the more He trains them to move by peace rather than pressure. You are no longer pressure-led. You are peace-led. Another confirmation that your waiting season is ending is this: you are no longer obsessed with outcomes, but you are deeply committed to obedience. That shift is rare. Most people want results without alignment, but alignment always precedes results that last. God is not interested in giving you something you cannot sustain. He is interested in entrusting you with what will multiply through you. That is why what is coming to you will not just bless you, it will stabilize you. If wealth is part of your calling, it will arrive with structure, not chaos. If influence is part of your calling, it will arrive with boundaries, not ego. If visibility is part of your calling, it will arrive with covering, not exposure. Because God releases in proportion to stewardship. And you have learned stewardship in the unseen. You learned how to steward your emotions when no one was watching. You learned how to steward your thoughts when doubt was loud. You learned how to steward silence without filling it with noise. You learned how to wait without becoming bitter. And those lessons were not wasted. They were investments. This is why heaven is not hesitant with you anymore. Chosen one, I want to say something that may settle your spirit. You do not need to prepare anymore. You need to remain present. Preparation has already done its work. Now comes participation, not striving, not forcing. Participation. You will feel it when it happens. Conversations will open without effort. Opportunities will align without manipulation. People will recognize you without explanation. And when they do, you will not feel surprised, you will feel ready. Because readiness does not announce itself, it simply responds. Do not underestimate the power of this season simply because it is quiet. God often does His most irreversible work in stillness. The world equates noise with movement. Heaven equates obedience with momentum. And you are moving even if it looks still. You may also notice a new compassion forming in you. Not the kind that rescues, but the kind that understands. You are less reactive to others' immaturity, less offended by misunderstanding, less triggered by comparison. That emotional regulation is not detachment, it is mastery. You are no longer fighting what God has already resolved in you. This is the maturity required to walk into sustained blessing. Chosen one, I need you to release the last residue of self-doubt. Not because you are flawless, but because doubt no longer serves the version of you that is emerging. You have evidence now. Evidence in your endurance, evidence in your growth, evidence in your restraint, evidence in your clarity. God has been faithful to you longer than your fear has been loud. Let that settle. The waiting season is officially over, not because you demanded an ending, but because you honored the process. You did not escape the waiting, you completed it. And completion is what grants authority. From this place forward, you will notice that things respond to you differently. Not because you changed your tactics, but because heaven changed your positioning. Favor will feel quieter but stronger. Opportunities will feel fewer but cleaner. Movement will feel slower but more certain. This is the mark of divine transition. Remain humble, remain listening, remain aligned. Do not rush to announce what God is unfolding. Let it unfold. Covering stays strongest when you do not expose prematurely. Chosen one, you are not stepping into a moment. You are stepping into a mantle. And mantles settle best on shoulders that learned how to wait without collapsing. You did that. The waiting season did not break you. It built you. And now, heaven is responding. Chosen one. This is not a random moment. This is your Kairos time. God says your waiting season is officially over, and a divine shift is now unfolding in your life. What was delayed is being released. What was hidden is being elevated. What was withheld is moving into your hands through heaven-funded alignment. This prophetic message is for the chosen one who has endured in silence, remained faithful under pressure, and carried vision without recognition. Kingdom wealth, divine provision, and royal inheritance are not future ideas, they are activating now. The waiting season was preparation. The next season is execution, elevation, and supernatural wealth transfer. Chosen one. God says your waiting season is officially over because you are ready to steward more responsibility, more influence, more resources, and more financial calling tied to purpose. This is not luck. This is destiny. This is prophetic elevation timed by heaven itself. If this resonates with your spirit, stay connected. Like the video, subscribe to walk with this prophetic flow, and comment 777 with your city as an act of agreement and expectancy. Your season has shifted. Step forward in faith and receive what heaven has already approved.